That is a really strong film, and the finale is just astounding. Later in his life, Bernard Herrmann recalled getting a particularly enthusiastic fan letter from a 16-year-old music student so obsessed with the Concerto Macabre, he learned to play it by ear. And you can, in fact, hear Herrmann's influence in the grown-up Stephen Sondheim's Tony-winning score for the musical Sweeney Todd. The climax of Hangover Square had to be shot outdoors on the Fox lot at night to safely accommodate the pyrotechnics. Actor Alan Napier recalled George Sanders causing additional havoc by refusing to deliver his lines as the set went up in flames. He thought his dialogue was bad and refused to say it, even though the massive set was rapidly burning down. The leverage worked, as director John Bram had no choice but to let Sanders tweak his own dialogue before the massive concert hall set burned to cinders.
Why didn't you try to get out?
It's better this way, sir.
Hangover Square is something of a cursed film. Its three main actors all having met grim ends. It's particularly difficult to watch the scene of Bone adding Netta's body to the Guy Fawkes Night bonfire, knowing that this is how Linda Darnell would die, suffering fatal burns in a fire on April 9, 1965, at only 41 years of age. George Sanders' death at 65 was not an accident. He committed suicide in 1972, leaving behind a note saying he was bored and ready to leave this sweet cesspool. As for Laird Cregar, as I mentioned in the intro, he began this project determined to prove he could play traditional leading man parts, not just oddball villains. To that end, he went on a starvation diet fueled by amphetamines. For a while, he was elated, saying in an interview, "It feels like the studio is now seeing me as an actor instead of a type." But after shooting Wrapped, Cregar felt he still needed to lose more weight, leading him to have bariatric surgery, getting his stomach stapled. 9 days later, he died from complications at only 31 years of age. He never even saw the release of Hangover Square. At his funeral, Cregar was eulogized by his friend and Fox stablemate, Vincent Price. In truth, Cregar's death opened the door wide for Price, who was immediately cast in Dragonwyck, a role originally intended for Cregar. It was truly a tragic end for a man who wanted to be an actor from the time he was a child and had succeeded wildly, even though he called himself frighteningly fat and plagued by terrible insecurity. Director John Bram remembered him as a quiet, sad, aloof sort of man who saved it all for the camera. As always, let me know what you thought of this week's film and this week's tie on the Noir Alley Facebook page and/or Twitter feed. Next week, we're staying in London, or at least the Hollywood backlot version of it, for a 1948 film starring and produced by Burt Lancaster. How can you pass up a noir with the spectacularly sanguinary title, Kiss the Blood Off My Hands? Joan Fontaine and Robert Newton co-star in this rarely seen thriller about an American soldier mixed up in the black market for contraband medicine, a bit of a forerunner to The Third Man. Until then, see you in the shadows.